Hello guys, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
It's Coach Sarah
And Dr. T.
for day 4 of our gut reset 7-day preview.
Yes.
So again, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys are enjoying your day with your friends and your family, and some of you might still be eating right now.
Probably.
So the topic we're talking about tonight is probably going to be very appropriate for the festivities of the day today. And our topic today is going to be loving your liver.
Loving the liver.
And how loving your liver relates back to optimizing your gut health and improving your immune system, and getting rid of the symptoms that we have been talking about these last couple days. So if you've been hanging out with us the last couple days, the first day we filled you guys kind of in a global view of gut health. What is gut health? What is it supposed to look like? What does our typical gut health in the North American culture look like? Day 2, we talked about minding your mitochondria and how the mitochondria of the body are responsible for a lot of the metabolic processes and how that relates back to gut health and autoimmunity. Last night I talked about stress and how stress relate back to gut health and autoimmunity. And so tonight we're going to start getting into probably what we would need to consider one of our most important organs of our body, and that is our liver.
Liver. And before we get started though, can you make sure put a 1 if you're watching right now and a 2 if you watch after?
Thanks guys, we really appreciate that. It's helping us fine tune the times that we're doing these, because we are going to be repeating this 7-day group at the end of this cycle. We're going to be doing this group a couple more times so that people that have missed out on a chance to participate in the reset have a chance to jump in. So with that, tonight's topic, loving your liver. And a little story before we get started. We were having a hard time deciding what we were going to call today's video, and we were just having a laugh together earlier, and Tyler was coming up with some really creative names, and we were really torn, and tonight's video was almost called Liver La Vida Loca.
I also was going with Liver Let Die,
which we see might be a little inappropriate.
Liver on a Prayer. Those were my top 3. I had a few more, but we decided to go with just loving your liver.
Yeah, we feel like that might be a little bit more appealing to everyone. So again, tonight's topic is loving your liver. And, creating a clean environment is really important for not only outside of your body, but inside of your body. And it's critical to optimizing your digestive and your immune system, your digestive health and your immune system health. So our North American culture, we put a lot of emphasis on our external cleanliness, right?
Absolutely.
So showering, washing our hair, brushing our teeth, putting on perfume, deodorant, shaving. Those are the things that we're paying attention to. Those are the things that we're really dialing into, and we almost get offended if someone is smelly on the outside. But have you ever thought about how clean you are on the inside of your body? Have you ever considered that? When is the last time you thought about, I wonder how clean my digestive tract is today? Or like, when is the last time you considered how dirty your blood is? Have you ever thought about that? Because most people don't.
No one thinks about this. Very few people.
And I'm not one who did. When before I started living this lifestyle and working as an integrative nutrition coach, I didn't think this way. I didn't really think about how a lot of the things that we're doing to ourselves are actually inhibiting our body's ability to filtrate and clean itself on the inside. So we take great pride in how clean our home is in a lot of cases, right? We take great pride in making sure that we have an outwardly clean appearance. But why is it that we don't take just as much great pride in how clean we are on the inside of our body? Because it's the inside of our body that really at the end of the day is going to count the most.
And that's going to reflect heavily on how our outside of our body ends up looking
Right.
and smelling.
Right, which we are going to talk about as one symptom of you maybe needing to love your liver a little more intensely. So what is it about our internal cleanliness? Well, our goal tonight in this talk is to teach you why it's important to create a system for your body to be able to effectively detoxify itself. What happens when your body's natural systems of detoxification become inhibited, why they might become inhibited, and what you can do to reverse that process. Because this is a fixable thing. But I will caution you that detoxing your liver is not something that you should go alone when you do. It is something that I would highly recommend doing with people who know what they're doing.
It's not as simple as people may think it to be.
And not that it's not a simple process, but it's one that requires you to know how to effectively implement all parts.
There's multiple processes to it.
Right. So with that said, it is very important that you have all pieces in place when you do decide that you're a good candidate to start loving on your liver. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Tyler. And I want Tyler to fill you guys in all about the anatomy and physiology of the liver, where it's located in the body, what that structure actually looks like, maybe a little bit about how big it is and how much it weighs, not to give away all the good stuff, and also maybe explain to you that there are multiple parts of the liver's processes and what those actually look like. So take it away, Dr. Tyler.
So the liver is an organ in our body that is located in the top right quadrant of our abdomen, right below the diaphragm, which is right below the lung, right here. It has two lobes, and its primary purpose is to filtrate the blood of toxins. And a lot of people know that because when they have a lot of drinking, everyone knows like, well, that's not good for your liver. And what is alcohol? It is a toxin in our body. Well, the liver has a blood source that comes through it, and you can think about it as like a gradient as it comes through, and it gets slowly cleansed out and it comes back into our body, as well as our spleen has a player, but that has a lot more to do with the red blood cells. And the liver weighs about 3 pounds, so it's not a gigantic organ in our body, but it's not a small one as well. And what the liver does, it has 3 phases of filtration and the detoxification process.
So a good analogy that I like to refer to the liver as is, does anybody in here have a water filtration system on their house? Like an RO system or any kind of purifier? That is what your liver does for the body, right?
Yeah, it's if you think about, we want cleaner water source into our body, and we're not going to want to drink the water from Lake Michigan and how it's processed, and people get reverse osmosis systems into their house, and they want to put better stuff. So really the filtration system of the water that would get into our body, that would be like the liver. So the liver has 3 phases of the detoxification process. The first phase is the external stimulus. So there are certain things we put in our body that start the detoxification process of phase 1. The most common ones would be coffee, wine, citrus fruits, some vegetables. And what that does is it takes antioxidants and brings them into a free radical system into our liver. Now, so what happens with most people during this time is it's easily done with phase 1. Now, phase 2 is conjugation. That's what it's called. And most people are very sluggish at this phase. And so if you take all this really good stuff in, you start cleansing the liver and you can't get to conjugation, you end up with having a bunch of free radicals, which are not good, start rolling through the liver more and more. And it's called interhepatic recirculation through the system. So, and that can cause liver damage over time. It can cause fatty liver. There's actually several issues that can happen there. And then it can get recirculated out into our blood system. So you're never fully detoxing your blood out. And you're just rolling free radicals through your system of your whole body, which is going to damage you. And it's going to cause oxidation of a lot of your body, which causes aging.
So for those of you who are sitting here, I want you to think about something for me. When is the last time that you went number 2? Consider that for me for uno momento. The normal rate of eliminating from the bowel is 1 to 3 times a day in order to be filtrating properly from that avenue of your body. If you are not someone who is eliminating regularly and you are going a day or 2, which is not uncommon for me to have happen with my clients when they're coming to me. Remember the stat I gave you the other day that 50% of the American population struggles with chronic constipation.
Yeah, I have clients that come in, they say they go to the bathroom or 2 every 3 to 4 days.
And so you are also chronically constipated if you are someone who has to take a laxative in order to go to the bathroom. So if you consider yourself a regular bathroom goer, but it requires you taking an over-the-counter medication in order to achieve said bathroom trip, or it requires a cup of coffee in order for you to go to the bathroom, you have chronic constipation too, my friend.
Yeah.
And if you have chronic constipation, you are going to be experiencing this phenomenon called interhepatic recirculation, which is actually a reabsorption of the toxins in your stool. That's pretty gross, right?
Yeah. So you're never being able to eliminate them. So when you're in phase 2, when phase 2 is working properly, and there's different ways that you can activate phase 2, is that goes into your bile, your urine, and your stool. So that's how it's going to get. And those things have to get out of our body, which then goes into phase 3. Phase 3 is transportation. So phase 3 really is how well does your whole GI tract work. And like we talked about the other day about breathing, too, is getting everything moving appropriately so that you can eliminate in an appropriate time. So the quality of water does matter for urine. How well do how often are you pooping? And the third with the bile has a lot to do with what you eat on a daily basis.
And most people don't realize that they're a poor bile producer. A lot of people, these are also people that struggle with chronic acid reflux, require Tums after they eat, require antacids.
So if you don't know what bile does, is the main purpose of bile, besides getting the free radicals out of our system, is going to be to emulsify fats. So you have to have bile in your small intestine coming out of your gallbladder and through your bile duct into your small intestines to absorb the fat into our body. If you do not produce bile, it is a major problem, and the fat will go right through you.
So if you are someone who has tried keto and keto doesn't work for you, it's because you're not able to properly assimilate the fats from that diet.
Yeah, you're not able to absorb through the system, and that's a huge issue if you're having, or people have major gallbladder issues as well. That's typically a diet issue, and that you can reverse, you can get better, but it can be so bad if you have really bad gallstones that you're in a very bad state at that point, and that you may need to get surgery at that point.
Well, and if you don't have a gallbladder, it's going to be even more of a reason for you to be looking at your alternative sources of supplemental bile.
Yeah.
And that's something that we address in the gut reset with the protocol that we spell out for everyone. So if you are somebody who does not have a gallbladder, that will be addressed.
Yeah, it's okay. It just there is a couple obstacles that you have to get through to get to proper absorption into your system. But if you can't absorb fat, that means you're not absorbing fat soluble vitamins as well, which are which is A, D, E, K. So if you're most people don't worry about A, E, and K, but a lot of people worry about D. D is more like a hormone than it is an actual vitamin. So if you can't absorb fat, which means you can't absorb vitamin D, which you're going to have low vitamin D levels, which are going to totally mess up your system, and it's mainly going to mess up your hormone system.
So if you are somebody with chronically low vitamin D and you keep getting hyperdosed with vitamin D by your doctor, you can get hyperdosed with vitamin D all day long, but you're going to continue to have the same problem.
So if you're taking vitamin D, please take it with fat, like during a meal that you're eating fat. That's really, really important.
That is really important, but if you are having these issues with your liver and your liver detoxification pathways are downregulated, you're going to see chronically skewed levels of vitamin D no matter what you do.
Yeah, so when we get back to the transportation and with the bile, the urine, the stool, with the urine, as long as you're getting enough water through your system and it's high quality water, you'll be okay there. Stool's a little more complicated because it's the quality of stool. So there is a scale called the Bristol scale that actually has, I think it's 8 off the top of my head. I think it's 8 different categories of stool, which we should be between on the 4 or 5, which means like it's.
So if you're not familiar with what the Bristol scale is, just
look it up.
Google Bristol scale.
Yeah.
And I can probably post a picture in the comments below if you guys aren't offended by poop pictures. But it is a scale that's going to measure the quality of your bowel movements. So like we said, you want to be a 4 or a 5.
If you are having very hard stool, very dense stool, or if you're the opposite route of you're having the diarrhea all the time, that is red flag that there is a handful of things going on. You have gut health issues. You're going to have dysbiosis within the GI tract. You're going to have, most people don't eat enough vegetables, so that's a lack of fiber in beans and things like that. Big, huge one, magnesium deficiency. I would say most people are walking around with a magnesium deficiency in this country. It's super, super, super common. And
magnesium is responsible for somewhere between 750 to about 800 enzymatic processes in the human body. Mm-hmm. And about 6 of the 8 parts of the Krebs cycle, which is how our body produces ATP, which is the basic unit of energy. So magnesium might be kind of important, but I will say that I see blood work come back from clients chronically low with magnesium. And oftentimes they're already taking supplemental oral capsules of magnesium and they're seeing nothing happening because it's the type of magnesium that they're taking that's the problem. Yeah. As well as their gut health isn't able to properly absorb or assimilate what they're taking in because their gut health is still poor because of the way they're eating. Mm-hmm. And so that actually leads us into how do we fix the 3 phases? What can we do? What do we have control over to fix those 3 phases of detoxification pathways? So in the first phase, a couple super simple things that you can do to start cleaning up your ability to complete phase 1 is to stop exposing yourself to toxins. So look at your house and do a chemical makeover of your home. If you aren't sure about what you're using in your home and its chemical makeup, there's a really cool app called Think Dirty. And it's a free app you can download. And what you can do is scan the barcodes of your personal care items. And it's going to give you a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being completely safe and 10 being highly toxic. And it's going to give you the rating. And it's based on the EWG standards, which are the Environmental Working Group. So it will tell you the toxicity level of your personal care items, your makeup, your shampoo, your conditioner, your body wash, your hand soaps. There's all kinds of things that you can scan, and it'll also give you great resources for non-toxic substitutes. Because part of, we can't control what's in the air necessarily. What's in our environment and our air around us, we don't necessarily have as much control over, but we do have control over what we put on our skin, what kind of makeup we use, what kind of lotion we put on our body, what kind of personal feminine items. Did you know? Can you talk for 30 seconds about what kind of chemicals that are put into women's personal care items?
Oh, the one that I can think of at the top of my head is in tampons, and it's chlorine.
Your tampons, if you are using tampons, they are laden with chlorine, and they're also doused with anticoagulants.
Yeah.
So you're literally injecting yourself with chemicals each time you use a conventional tampon.
Yeah, you're taxing your liver every single time you put that in your body.
So this is going to be part of you better readying your body to go into phase 1. And it's just that simple. Mm-hmm. If you are somebody who burns scented candles in your home, that's a huge one.
Oh, what are the little things that...
Wallflowers.
Yeah, those things.
If you are... I don't mean to use the brand. If you use scented wall plugins of any kind, if you use artificial fragrance sprays,
scented lotions that are
like the aerosol scented sprays, get rid of them. It is time to make over your home from a toxin perspective. There are other ways to scent your home extremely safely, and you just have to change your mindset.
Not only can you do it safely, and actually improve the actual natural air that's in our system.
Yes, you're going to be improving your health, because many of the chemicals that are in a lot of our household cleaners and personal care items, once they're in the air, they stick in the air sometimes for they have a very long half-life. So we continue inhaling them over and over again. Bleach is a perfect example of an extremely common but extremely harmful toxin that we expose ourselves on a pretty consistent basis. If you use Clorox wipes, get rid of them. There are much simpler and just as effective ways to clean your home than Clorox wipes. Mm-hmm. Even though Clorox wipes are easy, they're extremely toxic and you're damaging your own health. So again, I don't need to use brands, but you know what I mean. Any kind of chemical wipes. So there's lots of different ways that we can approach detoxifying our home, but start with the things that you use the most. Your laundry detergent, your shampoo, your conditioner, your body wash. These are all of the things that we need to consider because we're exposing ourselves to them sometimes multiple times a day. Especially when it comes to our household cleaning items, like our all-purpose cleaners and things of that nature. Our what we choose to wash our dishes with. Then we're eating that off of our dish. There's so many things that we can do to detoxify our home, but we are going to be helping teach you how to make over your home and what to look for. What are the big culprits inside of your home?
Sarah got into this before I did, in our environment where we put on our skin. And at first I was like, ugh, I don't want to do this. This is kind of like annoying.
He was super annoyed when I first started doing it.
I don't want to do this. This isn't really me. It just wasn't. It really, because for me it was a change.
I started to go crunchy granola on him, and he didn't know what to do.
And but I was like, all right, yeah, I'll go. I mean, okay, that's fine. I'll do it. And then I started seeing changes. Even in my skin, hygiene.
Totally.
Going to a handful of different ways of handling, like with face wash and
switching our deodorant, switching our
toothpaste change, body wash change, face wash. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that was really big. Obviously, not using scented candles. The way that
I was the queen of scented candles, by the way.
I'd actually get angry that she burned so many candles. I just didn't like it. I didn't like candles. I'm like, and then she was like, "Oh, I gotta stop this stuff."
Yeah. He was super happy.
So I was happy about that,
and it saved a lot of money.
It did. We really didn't need that, so we figured out other ways to do it.
I changed my makeup.
Yeah, that's obviously I don't wear makeup, but yeah, that was big.
Yeah, totally changed my whole makeup bag. There's been so many things that I've changed, and if you guys have had any exposure to any of my other videos, you've actually seen videos of me making my own body wash, teaching you how to make the transition from conventional deodorant to natural deodorant by doing armpit masks using bentonite clay. All methods to basically enhance your detoxification pathways. And I can honestly say, I mean, just doing that simple home makeover and detoxifying our environment has made a lot of big changes. I don't struggle with random headaches anymore. I used to wonder why I'd get these just random headaches, and I was a lover of perfume. I loved me some expensive, really awesome smelling perfume. And not to say that there aren't some safe brands out there, because there are safe brands, but I wasn't using anything that was safe. Just stuff that smelled good. And so I struggled with a lot of headaches, and I never connected the two. And when I stopped using conventional perfume, headaches went away. So there's a lot to be said about artificial fragrance and its effect on our whole entire system. So with that is going to be your first big tip for tonight on how to love up on your liver, is to detox your home environment. Get the app, Think Dirty, start scanning your products, and start making a list of the stuff that you need to replace, because we're going to teach you how and answer your questions on where to replace things, or give you some of my own homemade recipes, because I make a lot of my own stuff from scratch. And let me just tell you, it's not just effective, but it's cheap.
Yeah, it's not that expensive. It's really quite cheap to do.
So your second tip is going to be how to detox, or how to better love on your liver, is to optimize those 3 pathways to detoxification. So we have to improve our body's ability to cleanse itself and eliminate. So in phase 1, the things that we can use to help our body better enhance its ability to get there are antioxidants and veggies. And veggies, in a lot of cases, are antioxidants, but also provide us with a very awesome source of fiber to help scrub. So antioxidants can come in many forms, but what are some common forms of antioxidant that we can take in?
I think when people think antioxidants, I think the one that people think the most is their citrus fruits. They think like, I'm going to drink orange juice, pineapple juice. They think wine, grape juice. Those are going to be the big ones. That's what comes to the top of my head right away. I don't know if anything pops to your head right away.
Well, but are those actually things that they can use as antioxidants in the event that we're trying to improve our gut health?
So they are technically antioxidants. That's not lying. But here's the problem. They come along with a lot of sugar along the way with them. So in reality, they're not that good of a source. There's a lot better things we can put in our body.
Right. So we're going to teach you the strategies to improve your body's exposure to antioxidants that actually help you achieve that phase 1. And they're not going to be wine.
Yeah, that's not one. Sorry. I'm really sorry. That's not one.
And then we got to move on to phase 2. So phase 2, like we were talking about, that's where most people get stuck. No pun intended. So phase 2 is oftentimes where we see people with constipation and diarrhea.
Yeah.
And they've had it long term. These are the people that have to take either Imodium on a consistent basis, or are taking like Pepsid on a consistent basis, or taking all these different forms of either to make it stop going or make it go.
Yeah, and then they also have, because of the free radicals in the system can't get out through the bile, urine, and stool, it keeps circulating through their system, and they have chronic fatigue, they have chronic headaches, and this is where it gets nasty. This is where chronic disease develops. This is where autoimmunity start. This is, if you have toxins rolling through your system over and over again, and it's just, again, that rain barrel effect, and it just starts pouring over and it just can't, it keeps going through, really bad things are going to happen.
Yep.
And that's why people think, like, look at me, I'm doing a liver detox. And they're doing phase 1, which means they're pumping even more free radicals into their system. If they're going in an antioxidant, and then they're pushing more free radicals in, rolling through, can't get them out.
And they're
now
stuck.
They're even more sick, and they're like, well, I did a liver detox, and I was so fatigued, I had brain fog, I felt like crap.
And so then what? It didn't work.
It didn't work. And not that it didn't work, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. You weren't just you didn't have a big enough picture to really heal yourself.
So if you are somebody who is sitting there saying, I've done a liver cleanse before, liver cleansing doesn't work, it made me feel worse, or it didn't do anything, this is what I need you to consider, my friend. That you were not able to cross over from phase 1 into phase 2 because your body didn't have what it needed. And more than likely, the thing that your body didn't have that it needed for phase 2 was sulfur.
That's a big one.
And I'm not talking about the kind of sulfur that people are allergic to.
No, that's sulfa drugs. That's a protein. Actually,
That's a protein, not the same thing. This is a mineral. This is methysulfomethane. And if you know anything about modern farming, I am a farmer's daughter.
I married one.
True blue farmer's daughter. You know that modern farming practices over the last 50 to 100 years have shifted from us being very conscientious of our soil health, rotating crop, letting the soil rest every 7th year, using manure to reconstitute the soil at the end of each planting and harvesting season. We now use spray fertilizer. We don't let the soil rest, and crop rotation doesn't happen as frequently as it should. Mm-hmm. And the end result of those farming practices is a very depleted soil.
It's completely demineralized, and it's the two things we talked about. It's what? Magnesium,
sulfur.
Those are the two big ones.
And sulfur should be the 3rd most abundant mineral in the human body.
Yeah.
But it's one that we can't make ourselves and can't buffer from somewhere else if we're not getting enough of it. So what suffers when we're not getting enough sulfur in our diet is our body's ability to complete the 2nd phase of the detoxification pathway. So that's where oftentimes people end up with this enterohepatic recirculation of the toxins, which oftentimes end up presenting as joint pain, as unexplained skin rashes,
as anxiety, depression.
This is where people get diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
This would be what I like to call the slam dunk of garbage can diagnoses. They don't really know what's wrong with you, but they're going to
chronic pain syndrome
because they got to put a diagnosis on it, because that's how our insurance works. Is they're just like, I'm going to slide you this way, and you're going to take these drugs. That's how it works.
IBS. That is one of the most commonly lumped garbage can diagnoses for somebody who is experiencing inability to cross over into phase 2 detoxification. IBS. Mm-hmm. IBS is not a disease.
It's your body.
IBS is a symptom of an imbalance.
It's an imbalance. It's trying to get it out of your system. It just can't. It's trying so hard, and that's most people who have IBS also have anxiety as well through their system because they're so imbalanced within their nervous system.
Right. So guys, don't let someone diagnose you with IBS. You are not someone who has IBS as a disease. You're someone experiencing IBS because your body's imbalanced.
Yeah, absolutely. It's honestly unbelievable that what's kind of the transition through our health and through Western medicine. And this is a little bit, like we talked before, a little bit of a complicated topic. And if medical doctors and DOs went in, and even DCs went in and said like, hey, this is what makes sense, this is how it works, they would never go about the way that they do things. Because, again, they are in it for managing the disease, not curing the disease. And to put these diagnoses on things, it hurts the patient. And I don't like diagnosing my patients with certain things, because they almost take this sense of ownership with it, and I don't want that for them. I want them to understand that doesn't define you as a human being. Your pain does not define you as a human being. Your IBS or whatever it may be does not define you. But there is hope. There is a way that we can get you back to who you are inside and who you've always wanted to be.
Exactly. So that was, a pivotal moment for me with having a diagnosis of Hashimoto's. I used to refer to myself as someone who had Hashimoto's. And when I fully understood what was going on with my body, I understood that the Hashimoto's was merely a symptom of having this gut problem.
Yeah.
So I was just somebody who needed to treat my body more kindly. And Hashimoto's was simply a symptom, but not a definition of who I was. So, if you are somebody who's experiencing these symptoms, if you're somebody who is, trying to unravel the roots of what is going on with your health, you really have to consider, letting go of being your diagnosis. Because oftentimes that identity is one of the very things that's holding you back from moving forward. So, the other part of phase 2 that can hold you back from moving forward is a lack of amino acids. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't that actually suggest that maybe more so of the body's ability to break down and properly digest things?
Because so we do have to take in certain amino acids in your system. Our body does make amino acids, but we have to take some in as well. And then if you think about protein, and that's where most of our amino acids come from, if we can't break that down, so that has a lot to do with our stomach, and we can't get it into our bloodstream, that speaks volumes to the health of our stomach and our small intestine.
Totally. So being able to optimize your digestive abilities is really that key to being able to properly get the amino acids that you need. Mm-hmm. So creating bioavailable sources and knowing how to properly fine-tune your protein intake is something that we're going to be including and going over during our gut reset. And then looking at phase 3, so if we've optimized phase 1, we've optimized phase 2, how do we then optimize phase 3, which is, what was that phase 3 again? What was that called? Transportation.
We got to get it out of our bodies all the way.
Yeah. So this is going to be some of the things that might have recirculated after the first attempt at getting them out during phase 2. Your body's going to catch some of that overflow, and it's going to have that next chance at getting it out. So phase 3 is going to rely on actually something quite simple that you can start doing that we've already talked about a little bit, which is being properly hydrated. Mm-hmm. So if you weren't with us the other night when we talked about hydration, the reminder for you is something that you can start working on right now is take your body weight, divide it in half, and that is the number of ounces of water and or green tea, unsweetened green tea, that you need to be drinking per day.
Yeah, and people tell you, you don't need to drink that much water. Well, yeah, that's actually true for survival. Like, yeah, if you don't want to die,
if you want to survive,
like,
you can drink less than that.
You only need 30 to 50 ounces a day. I'm like, yeah, like, so I don't die, like, over time.
I want to thrive.
Like, I want to thrive, so I want to make sure I'm eliminating the toxins. Too. Like, I don't want to have kidney stones. Like, I don't want to have problems. I don't want to have cancer. I don't want to have those problems.
Yep.
You have to make sure that you're well hydrated, and that's a really good statement to say is half your body weight in ounces per day.
It is a pretty standard recommendation across the board with most people. For some people, I even recommend a higher intake than that, depending on the person. But just know half your body weight in ounces of water and or green tea. Why green tea? Because green tea is full of antioxidants. So you're going to be...
Phase 1.
Yeah, so you're going to be like optimizing phase 1 while attacking phase 3. So you're double dutying it. No pun intended.
Coffee does do this as well, but coffee has many other things going on into it, which change things quite a bit.
Right. So we want to keep coffee out of the equation. So again, I know we talked about this a little bit last night. Coffee is probably going to be something that you're going to be giving up during this challenge. This gut reset is going to be reliant on us creating the most alkaline environment possible, which is the other reason why we want to be optimizing phase 1 via antioxidants and vegetables, because they create an alkaline environment in the gut to optimize our body's ability to complete that phase 1 detoxification. So you need to then focus on your food. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple different outlooks on food. There's obviously quality of your food. So I am definitely a big believer in that we should be eating organic, and we did address this somewhat already. But the reason why we need to be eating organic, it's not because organic food necessarily is the answer, but it's the fact that there's no pesticides, or way less and way less harmful versions on our organic foods. We still need to be soaking and washing them. If you don't soak and wash your vegetables and fruit, please start. Yeah. Please, pretty please.
I used to not do like my apples and stuff, and then my wife started yelling at me, and I was like, oh, fine, I'll do it. Now I do. Please. He also used to drink our tap water. Yeah, I used to do that too. Honestly, because I was lazy. I'm not gonna lie. That's because I was straight up lazy. I was like, it's there. I'm like, I'm a dude. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm cool. But then I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. Maybe I should have my water filtered.
Yeah. So anyway, we need to be really looking at that. So you can buy organic at Aldi. You can buy organic at Costco. You can buy organic at Walmart. You can buy organic at Target. You can buy organic. If you can grocery shop somewhere, you can pretty much buy organic these days. So please make a commitment to me. I do recommend, Debbie, that you soak your vegetables for at least, I would say 10 to 20 minutes is really a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, definitely the vegetables. That's big.
And especially if you are getting like fresh farmer market stuff, make sure you soak it for a little bit extended period. And you can just use salt, like just sea salt, vinegar, and water, and soak it that way, and it's going to help get a lot of the microbes and tiny little bugs that you can't see with your naked eye off of your veggies.
Yeah. Really porous things, that's what you're really going to want to really soak for a longer time.
Just a reminder that if you are somebody who is really questioning that, make sure that if you are eating conventional, that you are eating from the clean 15. And that you are avoiding the dirty dozen. So if you are unsure of what those things are, just Google them, and I have a photo that I dropped in last night's video as well, and I'll drop that again tonight when we're done. But that is going to be an incredibly powerful way for you to control your exposure to toxins in the foods that you're taking in. Also, it is important that you are eating grass-fed, responsibly raised meat. Mm-hmm. Why is that important?
Oh, because you are what you eat, honestly. Like, if you, well, like, most people have thought is, like, most people, like, a really good tasting cow is going to be fed with corn. Well, what is corn? Corn, like, cows aren't meant to eat corn. They're meant to have grass. That's normal, but they can.
They can have some grain, just like we can have some grain.
They can eat it, which makes them fatter, which makes the meat juicier. But it's the quality of the fat. So when we see a cow that has corn, we're taking in a lot of unhealthy fats, and when we're having a cow that ate a primarily grass-fed diet, we're taking a lot of omega-3s, which are healthy fats, to our system.
And then when we're talking about responsibly raised meat and responsibly butchered meat, we're also talking about the amount of duress the animal's under when it's actually butchered.
Yeah.
So when you have an animal that's highly stressed when it's being butchered and killed, its body is coursing with adrenaline.
Yeah.
And we talked about the effects of cortisol and adrenaline last night. Well, if you're eating meat that's laden with adrenaline, you're also taking that in. So you're not only having a high amount of it coursing through yourself naturally, but then you're eating additional adrenaline. So consider that when you're buying your conventional beef and telling yourself that it's no big deal. It is a big deal that you eat responsibly raised beef, and it is possible going through local farmers, going with another family and going to one of those local farmers and going in on a quarter of a cattle.
So that's what we do. We do about a quarter of a cow.
We go to Wisconsin.
So we're in Wisconsin right now.
We are in Wisconsin right now.
I'm in Whitewater, Wisconsin, that's where we are. And the cows in which that we buy are literally a mile or two down the road that are grass-fed. So if I ask the owner what was the name of that cow, I could probably get an answer. So I know how they're being treated. I know everything about that animal.
And for those of you who are out there saying, I can't afford responsibly raised beef, what do we pay for it per pound?
Oh gosh, I think we're doing, this is pound plus processing. I want to say it's around $2.75 a pound. Now that's including maybe $3 on the high end, but that's including like everything from our highest cut steaks to our organ meats. So that's what's averaging out. So when we're getting a 8-ounce fillet, I mean that's not costing us really all that much money. Going into it, it really is a much. We kind of figured the price point. We cut it at least in half.
It's about being resourceful. It's about finding people who know people.
And the quality of the beef that we're eating is just delicious.
It's excellent, and it's costing us $2.75-ish to $3-ish a pound. Which, if you were to buy that quality of beef in a standard supermarket, you're going to be paying about $10 a pound.
Yeah, even if you're at the high end range and the meat markets are a little bit on the higher end at $4 or $4.25, you're still a winner at that point.
Right. So consider your resources when you're thinking about the fact that you don't feel like you can afford to step up your quality game with your food, because anything is possible if you want it bad enough. Mm-hmm. There's also some great resources online for you to procure what they would consider not market-friendly produce, because it is not visually appealing. And I do believe that it's just called Ugly Produce.
Yep.
Is the name of the company.
I think it is.
And you have the ability to get organic, ugly fruits and vegetables from them at an incredibly reduced cost. Mm-hmm. Because it's things that won't sell in the supermarket because it's unappealing to the eye. So I do totally invite you to check out those resources. There's also a lot of great local, there's a farmer who actually delivers his meat. He's from Iowa, but delivers his meat to a co-op in the suburbs of Chicago. Wallace Farms, is that the name?
That's right, I think.
I do believe Wallace
They got
Farms.
a couple places in there. I know there's one in Naperville. That's where
So there are
we're from.
also options like that for those of you who don't have the ability to drive to a farmer. There are places that do, local farmers that do responsibly raise their meat, who have built co-ops in towns where they drop meat off for people to pre-order or pick up at point of sale. So improve the quality of your food from that perspective. It's also about improving your quantity or your intake of your food. If you're over consuming food, if you're eating just way too much, or if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, how does that inhibit your liver function?
Oh, it's going to absolutely stunt it. To actually produce bile, you have to have a good amount of fat in your diet, and so if you can't produce bile, I mean, you're stuck again in phase 2. Having a high sugary, high carbohydrate diet is also going to cause fatty liver. It's eventually going to cause blood sugar issues as well, because you have to think of the liver again as filtration and a buffering system, and that is what people who have unexplained high resting blood sugar levels in the morning, you can filter that back over to the liver and saying we have liver issues, and you're probably stuck in phase 2 of the detoxification process with the liver.
Absolutely. So, looking at the quality of your food, the quantity of your food, and then in removing the big inflammatory causing foods. So going back to that concept of the big 3 again, I need you to remove gluten. So gluten is anything wheat, barley, or rye based. I'm also going to be asking you to remove oats, because oats have a protein that are synthesized by the body almost exactly the same way as gluten. Mm-hmm. So the molecular structure between the protein in oats and the protein in gluten are almost the same.
Yeah, it's called molecular mimicry, and it's going to act the exact same way.
Yes. So with that said, I also want you to eliminate dairy in all forms. So that's milk, cheese, yogurt, cottage cheese, all of the above. Greek yogurt is also on the chopping block. So coconut milk is totally fine. Almond milk is totally fine. Flax milk is totally fine. Cashew milk is totally fine. You can go any of those non-dairy routes. Don't drink lactose-free milk. That's not dairy-free.
I've talked about this with my patients. That's not dairy-free.
Don't drink lactose-free milk. That is not the same thing.
That's a sugar issue.
Correct.
That's an enzyme issue. That's not a sensitivity issue.
And then the third area that I need you to remove are your refined sugars. So processed food lovers, my girls and guys out there who love your chips and salsa.
All that pumpkin pie that we may have not had tonight.
The cookies, the candy, the chips, the crackers, the pasta, the bread, anything processed that you didn't make yourself that comes out of a bag or a box, anything that ends in ose, glucose, dextrose, all those oses, artificial sweeteners, out. Any of these inflammatory, processed, refined foods, they need to be out, because they are causing havoc in your system. And it's apparent if you are not going to the bathroom on a regular basis and you have any of those items in your diet, I guarantee you that it has something to do with it.
So all those big 3 really heavily affect your liver function.
Yes.
And this, it's, again, like we said before, it is not well understood exactly how this all works well together. And you physicians don't truly understand this, because the way they treat doesn't make sense. If they did understand this, they do it very differently.
Correct. Which is why we created the gut reset that we're going to be rolling out next Wednesday. And we're so excited for you guys to come alongside us to complete this 28-day event. Because it's not only going to be addressing you improving the quality of your food, it's going to address improving the quantity of your food. It's going to address what types of foods are going to optimize your health. It's going to talk about which foods to avoid. It's going to lay out a templated meal plan It's going to teach you how to swap out certain options so that you are never at a shortage of ideas. We're going to include recipes that help you get started. I mean, we're really going to spell it out for you. And then we're also going to give you that plan for strategic nutrition that allows your body to optimize phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 in such a way that it is safe. Because I do not take it lightly when we talk about liver detoxification in the type of world that we live in today. Because our exposure to toxins has gone up so much in the last 50 years. Did you know that the average female is exposed to somewhere between 200 and 300 different chemicals before she walks out the door in the morning?
Think about that, like, 200 years ago, there was like none.
So we can talk more about the Toxic Substance Control Act of 1976 another day, but if you have any questions about why we're being exposed to so many things, look that up. Because it'll tell you a lot more about why we're inundated with the amount of chemicals that we're inundated with. So this reset, why is it important that people follow a specific plan? What could happen if they're missing one of the pieces?
So if you're missing a piece through this process, things could go very awry. Could go down there's going to be consequences to it. Like I said, if you can't get into phase 2, you're going to feel terrible. You're going to have a lot of problems. And so by following our plan and us almost like holding your hand and going through the process with you, and the community is going with you, and any issues that you may have pop up, we're able to counteract, and we can figure out through us and through everyone here.
Because it's really about everybody's experience is, it's about Taryn, I love you. I will follow directions. I'm so glad you will. Following directions is the key. But oftentimes we do have to navigate some minor bumps in the road along the way. And that's why it's important to do it in a setting where you have guidance, accountability, and support. So that's why we're not just creating a plan that we email to you and then you do it on your own. Yeah. The other cool part about this process that we're going to be including with the gut reset is not just 28 days of support. You're actually going to be able to have support beyond 28 days. We're going to be, if you enter the group, you will be able to stay in the group. And we will explain exactly how you will be able to do that at the end of these 7 days. But just know that sometimes you'll get into this process and you may have to stop and start over because you may find that your body's a little bit more toxic than you thought.
Or life hits.
Or something with life happens and you aren't able to complete a day or two, and we do have to then kind of go back to the drawing board. So we're going to be giving you, accountability beyond the 28 days for those of you who are worried about that. Well, what if I don't get it done in 28 days? That's okay. We're going to be here for you. So we're going to be extending this gut health reset, not only for that reason, but we know that your results are going to be so powerful that you're going to want to bring people into the group so that they can experience the same thing that you're experiencing. Mm-hmm. I shared this in our first video, and I'm going to share it again tonight, but fixing my gut health literally saved my life. I was headed down a very bad path.
Yeah.
And it was actually primarily with my mental health. Because my gut health was so poor, my mental health was suffering greatly.
Yeah, that was the side effect of her gut health.
And fixing my gut health, in turn, has saved my marriage.
That is absolutely true.
And I can say that with confidence.
And that's one of the large reasons I'm 100% behind this and doing this with Sarah, is because I know there has to be other people out there that struggled like we did, and us actually figuring this out and going through, like, we have to be able to share this, and we actually have the education and to be able to do all this stuff, and we can push this out in a proper manner to people and to people we know and then to the masses. We want to make a really positive impact into our community and to really as many people as we can reach, because I know there's people out there that feel stuck. They feel like there's no hope. They've been to so many doctors. I have a family member right now who's struggling with this, and we were talking with her tonight actually, and I was just appalled with her care that she's had over the past 6 months.
You guys, with what you have learned in the last 4 days in this group, would have been able to guide her more effectively than the healthcare professional in the conventional system who was being paid by her insurance to help her was guiding her.
And it'd be between her nutritionist that she was working with and her doctor. I couldn't believe that's what they had her doing. And I go, you're going to get much, much worse. And more than likely, I don't really know what would happen to her in the future, but we talked with her, we sat down.
And guess what she's doing? She's doing the gut reset right along with you guys.
Exactly.
Because it's that powerful.
Mm-hmm.
She's battling multiple autoimmune issues, one layered on top of the next, because the root of the issue still has not been addressed. So just know that there is hope. You can feel like a new person. I am living proof of having walked the other end of the spectrum in my health. And I know how bad it feels to be sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. He watched me.
Mm-hmm.
He stood by my side as I struggled with my health. And he is still standing by my side as I have now reclaimed that health. Having seen me a decade ago, you wouldn't recognize this person. And not just from an external perspective, but you wouldn't recognize this person on the inside. It's a much different landscape now.
People who just meet her and they don't know her past, they're like, no way. I'm like, well, this is what it used to be, and this is what we had to do to get from point A to point B. And it was a journey, and it was a big journey because we just didn't know. We had no guidance whatsoever to get to the point we're at today, and that's what we want to do for you, is we want to guide you to health, to actually have some hope with feeling a heck of a lot better.
And the first step to health is knowing that there's hope.
Yeah.
You know, if you've lost your hope, it's time to get your hope back. Because there is hope. There is hope for you. There is hope for your loved one who you see struggling. There's hope for your friend who you have had crying on your shoulder about her health. There is hope for your mom. There is hope for your grandma. There is hope for your dad and your brother and your uncle and all of the people in your life who you see struggling with their health. Because 99.9% of illness can be rooted back to the same thing. Our lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can just start there, we're going to be making such a crazy impact on our overall health that you won't even recognize yourself in 10 years.
Yeah. And people talk about it's my genetics. Genetics actually play a role between like 5 and 10%. So it's called, we call your epigenome, and which is your environment actually changes your genetic makeup. It's pretty cool, and your mood can change your genetic makeup. So literally just the way you feel can change your health and your genetics in your body. So you can't lean on it's just the way I'm overweight, or I feel like crap because it's my genetics and everyone in my family has this. No, more than likely everyone has the same attitude and everyone has the same environment and everyone eats the same crap that they've been doing for a lot of years. And that's why everyone feels terrible in your family, and you need to break that curse.
Absolutely. So with that, remember that it's going to be up to you what happens next. It's about you taking responsibility, and that's actually what I'm going to be talking to you guys about tomorrow night, is going to be the keys to being successful with your health. So there's this is going to be a super exciting talk. It's one that I always enjoy giving. It's a talk that I've done a couple different times, so I'm really excited to be with you. and go over those strategies because they're all very easily implemented. And I can't thank you guys enough for being here.
Yes, thank you so much.
Again, happy Thanksgiving. And just remember, the first step to healing is to remember that there's hope. And if you can start there, the rest of the pieces will fall into place if you just follow direction. It's Coach Sarah.
Dr. T.
Signing out, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.